What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Trout Wrangler Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Garrity. It is currently Friday, March 21st at 1:30 p.m. We got our first repeat guest on here. If you watched the episode about hatch charts, you're very familiar with Mr. Ian McCreary. He's he's the man out there in Wyoming, Trout Unlimited. Um, he's the
State coordinator.
super program coordinator. Yeah, coordinator. That's what I thought. But I'll let you introduce yourself for the folks that don't
Ian
know you
McCreary. I've
yet.
been fly
Ian.
fishing for probably 15, maybe 20 years now. I'm the Wyoming Trout Unlimited State coordinator, and other than like helping volunteers with their chapters, I just love fishing and talking about fishing.
Good deal. Well, we got a whole episode about indicator fishing today. We were gonna do this on the last episode, and we had a little too much fun talking about fishing and hatch charts and all that. So I was like, you know what? Why not have you back on and we'll talk indicator fishing on a whole another episode. So sit
Sweet.
back and let's listen. Um, so Euro nymphing. Personally, I don't have a ton of experience Euro nymphing. So just kind of go over Euro nymphing for the folks that aren't
So
too
your
familiar
nymphing is
with
just
it.
like inline or contact nymphing, essentially, and I'd say it's a form of indicator fishing. Technically, it is not, according to like the international fly fishing competition standards. That's why they're allowed to use Euro nymphing in the competition for competition fly fishing. But you do have an indicator or a sighter on your line. So you'll have your fly line, then you'll have your leader, and then your leader will go to a sighter, and then from your sighter you'll have 5 to 15 feet of tippet material, and then your indicators or your flies below. So that sighter is what Euro nymphers are using specifically for like detecting a bite if they're not doing it directly from contact. So for all the
Okay.
Euro dorks out there that love Euro nymphing, like in a sense, I would say Euro nymphing is a very, very sensitive form of nymph fishing as far as like using some sort of indication of striking if you're using a sighter specifically. It's not 100% like having a thingamabob or an Oros or a dry dropper, but it, it it's in the vein.
Okay. Now what kind of rod setup would you use for a Euro nymphing setup? I know some companies do make a Euro nymphing specific rod, but if you're a guy that fishes a company that doesn't have a specific Euro nymphing rod, what weight, length, and all that would you typically use? Line size,
For the most part, it's going to be
all
like
that
a
good
10
jazz.
foot 3 weight for a lot of your Euro nymphing. So you're reducing your rod weight significantly, but you're upping that length, which obviously you're going to give up in casting. The longer your rod, like the less accurate you're going to be able to cast. But specifically with your Euro setup, um, that length is going to give you a lot of tippet protection. So you don't necessarily have to have as strong of a or as large of a rod for a large fish, just because you're getting a lot of tippet protection from that added length. So 10 feet,
Okay,
10 and a half feet,
cool.
maybe 11 if you're on like a big river, but then you're really coming down in rod weight. You're that 3 weight, 10 foot length is really going to act like a 5 weight in a lot of senses.
Okay, cool. So it's mostly like a
Yep.
high sticking rod kind of thing. You think? All right, cool. Um, Now the next one I also don't have any. I don't have any experience with is the New Zealand
So
indicators.
I would say New Zealand indicators are probably, again, that really sensitive type of indicator. And what it is it's a piece of wool, and you have a whole setup with a wool, and then there's a rubber band that attaches the wool to your leader or your line. And from there, you can add as much wool or as little wool as you need. And it's super sensitive just because you're you're basically casting a dry fly that's attached to your line via rubber band. So,
Okay.
and again, they're super sensitive in that sense. You've probably seen like what are they called? Like an O-ring with foam or with synthetic materials.
Okay. Yep.
So that would
I've
be
seen
like
that now. Um.
multi-use version of a New Zealand indicator where you're not actually using the rubber band setup and the whole special kit.
Okay. I understand that. Now, so I have seen that same thing, same kind of rod. You 10
New
foot
Zealand
3 weight.
indicator would
You think
this would all just be your standard like 5 weight, 9 foot 5 weight, or whatever
standard
you
stuff?
use for
Okay.
indicator fishing.
Perfect. That is I've seen those now, but I didn't know that they were even
So
called
yeah,
New Zealand
the
indicators.
ones with an O-ring that is just that usually it's synthetic material. That's going to be what's that called? That's just going to be like a foam, not a foam, but a synthetic indicator, and it mimics what a New Zealand indicator is. New Zealand indicators, you'll just
Okay.
have a pack of wool that you attach as much or as little, which is kind of nice because you have one setup for your indicator system, but you can, if you have a really heavy rod or a rig, you can add, more of that wool. And then if you have a really light rig and you need to be super sensitive, you can add just a small pinch, and that should keep things suspended.
Awesome. Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to mess with something here so it can tell me how long we've been recording. I'm gonna mark that quick so I can edit it out. But now the next one, we can talk about this one for hours, most likely. I live and die by this thing, the dry dropper rig.
It's pretty deadly. I mean, especially small streams. I would definitely say it's an indicator because you are using that top dry fly as your indicator for whatever eats below. Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat. I think the one drawback with a dry dropper, I would say, is you really lose adjustability.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the one reason I love throwing a dry dropper, but I love it when they're really eating a dry fly good because you really only have to throw the dry fly on. Trying to drop the leader off of the dry fly is a pain. I Cause sitting there tying it up, that's probably like, especially with my fine motor skills the way they are, I lose my mind. But I do love throwing it. So like when they are eating it, I'm like, all right,
Yep.
we're gonna have a good day. But now your dry fly that you usually throw, your top three, what do you think your top three dry flies are that you throw
Definitely a
on the dry
chubby.
dropper rig?
I think it's hard to beat
Oh
something
yeah.
that's foam that's just going to stay suspended for a long period of time. Yep.
There we go. Right there. That's chubby
Yeah.
Chernobyl. If none of you guys
Yeah,
know what
chubby's,
it is.
yeah, it's definitely
But
probably better than a stimulator in that sense. Just that amount of foam it has, the size, it's going to fool a fish looking for a big meal, but also it's going to hold up, something, maybe a smaller pertagon as far as like looking at something that's super heavy. It's going to hold up to excess weight for a fly if you're trying to get something down deep in the water column. Probably next, I would say elk ear caddis. Those sit super well,
I agree.
just on top of the water column. And if you're in Montana or even in Wyoming, even Colorado, and you're fishing somewhere that like in the summer that has a spruce moth, I mean, those are out all day for the most part. Caddis flies you'll find in the morning and the evenings, but if you're fishing somewhere that has spruce moths, they're going to be out near the water kind of throughout the day periodically. So like that caddis fly does a really good job like mimicking moths as well as being, a caddis fly.
Okay. Oh yes. I throw I do it with like even small ants, parachutes. And then, like you said, I love throwing it with a like a zebra
Yep.
midge under a chubby Chernobyl. There's nothing like that. So much fun, and you don't go through as much. Dry
Yeah.
fly floating as like I love. That's why I love throwing a chubby Chernobyl when you are dry dropper fishing. Is you don't have to like dig in your waders, pull out the dry fly material. Have you ever used this stuff? We'll add this in if
I was gonna ask if
this
you use.
stuff right
Yep, I was
here,
gonna ask if you use Viagra. That's what I have.
Flyagro. Dude, I love it. It is the best. It is the best dry fly floating I think I've ever
It's
used.
essentially kerosene, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you can light it on fire. It's like I gave it to one of my buddies one day, and he was like, "Dude, like, why is this stuff so like stinky? Not stinky, but like you could probably run your car on
I
this
think the
stuff."
original like
And I was like,
mixture is like paraffin wax and kerosene. I don't know what the ratios are, but it's basically what it is.
"Yeah." Let's see. This is the OG stuff right here. I keep this around. The new one is something different. Yeah. Harmful or fatal if swallowed. Combustible, contains petroleum, um, distillates, um, and that's all they say. I do like
Yep.
the fly warning on the side though. That is pretty funny. I saw it in, I think it was Headwaters Outfitter up here, and I saw the side warning. I was like, I gotta buy some of that. And I wish I bought like 6 or 7 bottles of the original material, the original Flyagro. Like the new one's still the same, but you could tell how like
Yep.
gooey the old one was, and it just kept your fly up so much like better. I want to say than the newer materials in it, but dude,
Oh
it's
yeah.
still great stuff.
I I and I I don't have
But
a particular. What do you use for your dry shake?
um, I just use the loon stuff. I'll stick it in there, the shake stuff. I just put it in,
Yep.
shake it up, take it out, toss it in. That loon. I do wish Flyagra made
It's technically
a
just
shake too.
desiccant powder, where you could grind up the little beads that you get in any shipment of something that's supposed to remain dry. I haven't done it yet, but
Huh.
it's basically all it
I'm gonna
is a
start.
decadent powder that's been ground up. I think there's probably some concerns of grinding it up yourself to a powder form, so like I would probably wear a mask, but that's pretty much all that decadent. That's all it is decadent powder.
Oh man. So it's like packing
You know
peanuts,
those little
shaved up
packets
packing
when you
peanuts,
buy
essentially.
like a new shirt or like some clothes. Those, have you? It's
Oh,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
The silica. Okay, damn. I'm gonna start keeping those now, and maybe invest in a
I mean, I
mask.
think you could just leave them in the bead form and then shake it up, and
Start.
they should work just the same. But if you wanted it in powder form, you would have to grind them up, and I don't know the safest way of doing that.
Huh. Take like a mojito masher maybe and just sit there. Be like, all right, here it is. We're making a silica mojito. Do not ingest it, but you can use it um
Yep,
to
that's
do
what
your
garages
flies.
are for, to have like those kind of
But
non-kitchen use tools.
exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say I probably shouldn't do it in my kitchen of my 2 bedroom apartment. Probably think I was on some Breaking Bad kind of stuff over here. But
But
yarn indicators. Let's keep
well,
going.
yeah, that's
Keep
what they're
going
called.
there.
Yarn indicators. That's like the New Zealand style, where it's the O-ring and then it's that piece of yarn.
Okay.
You can make those yourself if you go buy any synthetic material like EP fibers, and then you can go buy an O-ring from hardware store. I was gonna age myself and be like, you can go to
I think.
what are they called? Radio Shack. Those don't exist anymore though.
Dude, there was, I think, one of the last known Radio Shacks to be in business was literally down the street from my parents' old house in Union County. I actually used to go in there,
I
and
miss
there'd
those
be
stores.
nobody in there.
Yeah.
I do too. They were so cool. I was like, they had remote control cars
And
in
any
there. They had
electronic
everything.
component you needed for a broken
Um,
whatever you could find.
oh yeah, it was nuts. Or they could
Yep.
order. Like, oh yeah, we could order that. But yeah, I think a lot of people make those yarn indicators with the bass fishing O-ring tools for
Okay. Yep.
Senko fishing, and that's why I kept all my um my O-ring tools around, is because I make yarn indicators around when I
My
am
only
throwing them.
thing I have against them is I've noticed that if you are stringing it up just like you would like any what do they call it? The old thingamabobs. We'll talk about those in a sec. If you're in like too thin
Okay.
of like your material, like if you're down into that 5x because you're just trying to keep a fly suspended, that can cut into that O-ring material and make it damn near impossible to like get or remove the entire like rigging system. I don't use the yarn indicators that much just for that reason. I feel like if I'm gonna go like try to be super sensitive and I'm using my nymph, but I want that sensitivity, the dry dropper is something I already have on me at all times.
Exactly. That's my thing. Is it's like, why would I do that if I have a dry dropper rig right in my back pocket where I can pick up another rod, usually with a dry dropper on it, and fish it. But I've never actually used a thingamabob or an airlock either. I've probably used an airlock if it's the one that
Yeah,
looks
so we
like a
both look like a
bobber.
bobber. Let me find one real quick.
Okay. I actually have used one of those. It was kind of like when I went on my first guide trip up in Cashiers
That'd be like
and
the thingamabob.
was
Yep.
using one of those. Yep. I think it's
I
called like a
think
lightning strike.
I have no idea who makes them. I
Makes
think they're
them.
just I just know them by what they're referenced by. So yeah, the thingamabob would be that one, and then the airlock is the next version of that, where the top screws on,
Okay.
and then that's
Yeah, I know
that's
which
how
one
we
you're
got
talking
to the
about now.
Oros from the airlock specifically. But I think when I started nymph fishing, I'd say thingamabobs were definitely the tried and true. That's what everyone was using. The one thing why I don't like them, and I think why airlocks kind of took over in that space, was specifically you had to bend your line and then crimp it. So if you see any old
Okay.
guy that's still using thingamabobs, like his leader is going to look like someone just bent the shit out of it. It's going to be bent and twisted and have all these kinks because what you have to do to like get the indicator to stay in one spot is you bend it and then you push it through the hole on top, wrap it around, and then cinch it tight, and that makes that kink in your line. Which they would stay,
Okay.
but they also
So
were. You'd have a really gnarly looking line.
yeah, as I said, would you ever run the
Usually
risk
not.
of breaking off if
It's
that
so it's
line's
usually
all
so
kinked
high
up?
in your entire line system. You're in like that 20 to 30 pound test. From like if you're looking at just
Okay.
a tapered leader, you're in the thicker portion of it.
All right. Yeah, so that's like your actual like big thick line kind of deal. So yeah, you probably wouldn't run the risk of breaking off
Yep,
unless
and
you
then the
hooked it up on this
airlock,
monster.
same concept, but that's when they invented the little screw cap with a little rubber grommet so you could screw it down. And then it made it really adjustable.
Okay.
For some reason, I feel like between the two, the thingamabob casts better and pulls off the water better. Just because I guess it bends the line specifically as far as your leader goes. Whereas the airlock, it protrudes
Okay.
directly off your leader. And I've just always felt like when you pull it off the water, you get a huge rip. Where the thingamabob things that pull off the water a little bit more gently.
Okay. Yeah, so you're not spooking as many fish. Stuff like that, if there are. if that really matters. Well, now what kind of rod and reel are you usually using? One same thing, 10-foot 5-weight.
I use a 9-foot
I think
5-weight for pretty much most fishing, unless I'm going to go like Euro nymphing specifically. But
okay.
Yeah, 9-foot 5-weight is the workhorse for I think a lot of people. I did a post on this the other day. I'd say one of the things to consider too, if you're looking for nymphing or you're gonna try to pick the perfect rod, I would really take a consideration of like the size of river you're fishing. I think the old nomenclature was like we would look at our rod weights for the size of fish we're fishing, and I think that actually is kind of been disproven across the board for most sports or most fly fishing, except saltwater. I mean, if you're going to go for a marlin, you're going 14 weight plus.
Right.
But
super custom.
Any freshwater species, really thinking of your fly weight, your rod weight should be more so. What are you fishing? Like, are you nymph fishing, dry fly fishing, or streamer fishing? I guess what are you going to do primarily? And then from there, like, kind of take consideration of like how big of a river system are you fishing? Like, I can fish, a creek by me that's only like 20 minutes away, like, and 3-weight's perfect. I can do a dry dropper. A 3-weight's going to be perfect for it. I could do a really small nymph rig if I really wanted to, but it's all brook trout, so they're just eating dry flies anyways.
I love a 3-weight and a tight stream chasing brook trout. And I think another thing that goes into like rod selection is how tight of quarters you're in when you are fishing. Like, I feel like I have trouble casting like a bigger 5-weight in a tighter stream than I would, like, say I have a 7.6 4-weight, which is a pretty tough rod to come by. I think LL Bean is the one that makes it. And have you ever heard of a 7.6 4-weight and any other companies? Yeah, it's super tough to come by, but it is perfect for going into like a small stream where there's primarily like bigger wild fish. Then it's made in Vermont, so it's like, you got a little bit bigger of wild fish in Vermont than you do here in North Carolina, where it's like your wild fish are that big, brook trout. But 7.6 4-weight. I think that's how I usually gauge my rod length. Is like, am I gonna be, if today I'm double hauling or something like that? I'm usually, if I'm in a tight stream, I'm just roll casting. But it's like, imagine if I have to get up and double haul. Could I be able to do it in a stream about as wide as this table I'm at right now? And it's like, if I have a 10-foot, probably not. So but my weight size, I've always said 7 and up. 7 and up, I use those for saltwater. But I've been getting more into streamer fishing. I'm like, I could use an 8-weight with some of the streamers that I've been seeing guys
with your streamer
throw.
fishing, that's you need to be up in weight because you're dealing with a more air-resistant fly and a larger fly for that matter. So, like, that 8-weight for streamer fishing is going to be way more important than, if you're throwing small trout streamers or dinky trout streamers, like, you can get away with a 6-weight. But if you're going for big fish, like, upping your weight for sure.
Oh yeah, like a big pike or like muskie and stuff like that. I'd up it to a 8 if I'm throwing a big streamer. Like, I just got some trout streamers. I actually did a swap with a guy. I tied him some flies, and then he was like, "What do you want in return?" And I was like, "I'll take some streamers if you tie them." He's like, "Sounds good. I'll tie you some for a 5-weight." And dude, for the size that they are, I was like, these things are awesome. And they look perfect for a 5-weight. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and try them out, trying to catch some smallmouth down in South Carolina or something.
That's kind of interesting. I've never heard of someone tying their streamers for like their rod size specifically, but that's actually really smart as opposed to like, tie this streamer for this fish. I'm tying a streamer for this size rod. I like that idea.
It was pretty cool because when I was talking to him about them, and he was like, what size rod are you throwing it on? And I thought the same thing. I was like, what? I was like, catering it to a rod size is crazy. It was actually a dude from Colorado. He might be. I'll send you his name, and then he's like, What are you chasing? What rod size are you throwing it on? And what river system in North Carolina will you be using it at? And he catered the entire streamer to a 5 weight, smallmouth, and trout. And it looks awesome. I'll go and grab them here in a second, and I'll show you what they look like.
I'd love to hear
They're
him
pretty
pick his brain
sweet.
on that whole concept. That's a really cool idea as far as like making streamers. We all always think about picking our rods. For dry fly fishing, I'm gonna fish a 4-weight probably. Nymph fishing, I'm gonna fish a 5-weight.
Exactly.
And streamer fishing primarily, I'm gonna fish 6-7.
Right. Yeah, he catered it completely to like what rod I was throwing it on, and it's sweet. I'll actually go and grab the box right now. I'm gonna mark this clip so I can clip it. Dude, they are pretty sweet. I'll be right back. Come on, man. All right, yeah, dude, check this thing out. This was one that he sent me. It's been in a fly box that is a little. Yeah, he said, check that out. Dude, it's light enough to where I'm like, holy cow, I can throw it on a 5-weight. And then he sent me that one too. That one's pretty sweet. But that's going to be the next thing I get into is tying stuff like that.
I've started the venture. Yeah, I tied one of these with my daughter the other day, messing with a brush. I think I need to buy the synthetic materials to make my own brushes because brushes are expensive.
Oh yeah, dude, like the EP ones are crazy. I was tying some stuff for saltwater when I went to Aruba, and I'm trying to think. Have I left for Aruba yet?
I don't know.
Whenever we were on last, dude, it was a pain. I'll tell you about that a little bit. Yeah, and then this was another one that he sent, and it's got that thing. I'm about to go and chase smallmouth with a couple of those.
That's sweet. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be looking for your podcast when you talk to that guy about.
Yeah,
how
for sure.
How do you size your flies for rods as opposed to size your streamers for rods? That's a cool concept.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was so surprised when he was like, what rod size are you throwing it on? I was like, what? It's like, you need the rod size? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I cater it all to what rod you're throwing it on. I was like, all right. And I gave him a rod size, and that's how he catered the flies. And yeah, so I think we got one more indicator to go over, the Oros.
I think everyone's heard about Oros at this point now. I think they've taken the world by storm in the last couple of years. They're the best things as far as indicators for something that can suspend a rig specifically, but also it takes the versatility of an airlock, and you can move it up and down your line like really easily. And then they're made of the biodegradable foam, so if you lose it, they're not going to be too much trash in the river system. But also, they do a great job suspending it. They're pretty sensitive, and they also are in line, so they are really easy to cast.
Is that the one that kind of snaps around the line?
If you want.
It's kind of like a 2-piece thing. Yeah, I think that's another. Dude, that
Thanks.
banner is
Yeah,
sweet.
after the last recording, I redid the back of my office. I was like, oh, I should probably clean this up.
Yeah, I wore the hat today, dude. I wear this hat so much. This is probably the coolest hat I own. And I've had like a couple people where I'd like be hanging out and I'm wearing it and people are like, dude, where did you get that hat? Like I was coming out of Bass Pro today and there was a guy with a River Smith on the top of his truck. And he was like, dude, where did you get that hat? It's like
they can
my
buy them
gosh,
on the website.
It's like he yeah, I was like, go to the Wyoming TU website, and I was like, they're on there. He's like, I'm gonna have to go and get one of those.
Nice.
I was like, go for it, dude. I was like, his name's Ian.
So here are the Oros.
He's the man. But
they came out with
that's
the
exactly
one that looks like your childhood.
Yeah, that one was
screws
pretty,
apart,
that one's
and then
pretty sweet.
Yeah, your line goes in the middle, and then it cinches on.
Yeah, that's the one I think I was using when that.
And
I was on
I
that
don't know if they came out this year. These extra smalls are super awesome. I just got these the other day. They're tiny, but they pack way above their weight for like what they can suspend.
Huh. Do you throw like a so what would you throw under one of those? Do you throw like a patch of rubber legs down there or zebra midge?
Anything you want to get down deep. And then this is just going to float on top, and you're going to watch that. Once it goes across, upstream from what you're fishing, it's going to indicate when to set.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So it's same thing. Upstream end.
Just you want everything to
cool
free suspend. We can talk about kind of the setup too. But yeah, I think the Oros, as far as like any indicator, with the ranges and weights or sizes of these that they have, medium is probably the best workhorse, but then small and extra small I think can give you more sensitivity. When I got the extra smalls, right when river kind of iced off around here, I was fishing and I was using the extra smalls, and the fish I caught were because of that indicator, just because it was that much more sensitive that early in this season.
Okay. Well, now what rod setup would you use to talk about the setup a little bit?
I think for the most part, you really get away with a 5-weight, for as far as nymph fishing.
Okay.
If you're nymph fishing, 5-weight is going to be your good workhorse. It's going to have enough backbone to cast an indicator of whatever you choose, and whatever weight you have from there, and then your nymphs down below. And I would say, like, for all the different types of indicator fishing that you can do, Oros I think is the most roundabout like system for like general use. But like, I mean, New Zealand indicators, Euro nymphing, dry droppers, like they're all going to be like have different levels of sensitivity. So I think there's a time and a place for like each kind of indicator fishing. I mean, I didn't put it in the list and I sent it to you, but like, have you seen people fishing on the green down in Utah? So yeah, they use
somewhat
water balloons.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I've been seeing that because I saw one. And I was
the bounce rig. It's crazy to fish with, but it's effective. Yeah, I went on a guide trip down there 2 years ago, and we did the bounce rig, and guide blew up a water balloon and tied it on, and we fished with it all. It stayed suspended all day, but I mean, we're using like 12 BBs on the bottom of your entire rig system. It's crazy.
It's like split.
Yep. So like kind of what they're doing with it, like the green has a lot of variation with like the rock size just below in the canyon, and so what they're doing is they're going the indicator down to it's about 8 to 10 feet down to their nymph setup, and they're like tied off on tags, and then below that there's your whole like weight system, which like he had like 10 or 12 BBs that are like just in a line, and then they're just that's dragging around the bottom. But like I guess the way it's set up is if you get caught, you can pull it, and you'll break off from that point, or it'll just like slink itself out.
Okay. That I've never thought of it that way, but that is brilliant because you probably
Yeah.
actually saves a lot of line too. That's perfect. Damn. I'm gonna have to try that. See if I get any looks when I'm fishing up here in North Carolina,
I would
fishing a
check
bounce rig.
regulations because I do
Be
think
like,
there
dude,
are some states that have regulations against the placement of your weight in regard to your fly or your bait.
I'm gonna have to look at it now. I'm gonna call or not FWC. That used to be what I was. I'm gonna call NCWRC. Be like, hey man, can I fish a bounce rig in the
Yeah,
state of North Carolina? They'll probably be like, dude, what
yeah,
are you
they might be
talking
very
about?
confused. I don't know if all states care, but I do know there are some states that have restrictions on placement of weight in relation to your fly or your bait, whatever you're using to catch, or your hook, I should say.
Okay. So that about wraps up the indicator talk. Like I know we've been going back and forth a few weeks about the
Oh, yep.
next part, the Miracle Mile. Um, you've been going back and forth to I think Billings,
No. For the
correct?
Miracle Miles, we've been doing a lot of campaign remote for remote. We had a online meeting, and then so last week, yeah, on the 14th was the due date for call for public comments about the project. So now we're kind of in wait to see where that project's going to get listed as far as it needing a full environmental impact study, or if they're going to move forward with the project without um, an environmental impact study that's either not done by the company building the project, or um, yeah, not done by them, or if they're going to get an additional impact study done.
Okay. So now I reposted it on both of my accounts, and I had people asking me like, what's this all about, and like how can I get involved in it? So if you're not in Wyoming or that general Midwest area, how could people from other
From the
places get
Trout
involved in
Unlimited
it?
national website, so tu.org, there is the action page, and it'll be listed a Seminole Storage Pump Project from their action page on that portion of the website. The best way of doing it, I would say, is just go to Google and type in Trout Unlimited, and then Action Seminole Pump Project, and you'll be directed to that exact page.
Okay, awesome. I'm actually gonna link that in the show notes because I actually have had a bunch of people like asking me like, how can I get involved? Can I help out in any way? And I was like, let
So
me
yeah,
ask
currently
Ian when I
we're
have him on
we're in
next.
wait right now as
And
far as what's going to happen next. I think it's kind of up to the state for determining where they're going to require that environmental impact study, whether it's reviewed by a third party or if it's going to be a new impact study. Right now, they've done some impact study with modeling, but the concern right now is I think moving forward with the project and basing it off modeling as opposed to like getting it fully reviewed.
okay, cool, man. I'm definitely gonna link that in the show notes. And then I always wrap up with the songs that your 5 go-to fishing songs. I gotta grab my phone for this part because I put all the songs into a playlist that I can send you. I actually got to post it on the Instagram story or
Perfect. I
something so
thought of
everybody can
this.
start seeing it.
Yeah,
Just,
like last week, I've been thinking about this. So I kind of took a spin on it, and I was thinking of fly fish or songs that remind me either of fly fishing trips or like just fishing with friends.
okay, I like that. You can give me as
So
many
I got
songs
five
as you
for you.
want too. So
So the first two are probably
okay,
because my friend Max in grad school, like I didn't have a car, so he was my ride to go fishing most of the time if I didn't fish in town. And he had one cassette in his car, and it was Cat Stevens. So Moon Shadow would probably
oh,
be the song I remember most from that. And if he forgot either his phone or the connection to play, we would listen to that Cat Stevens tape all the time. Uh,
which
yep.
one was it? Moon Shadow. Cool.
And
I'm about to put
then
it
the
in
other
there.
one from Max would be like STS9. We both like are big STS9 fans. Soundtribe Sector 9. And probably When the Dust Settles is probably one of the songs that I remember most. It's like jamming out to heading up to the Pooter to go fish the canyon.
Got it. That's pretty. I like that. Damn, are they like a
More
reggae
jam
type
baby,
band?
kind of closer to EDM.
Okay. Cool. I'm actually gonna listen to them because I do love jam
Oh yeah,
bands.
they're new guitarists. Like she's awesome. And then the next one, Blue Scholars, Slick Watts.
Slick Watts.
Yep.
WATTS. Blue Scholars.
That's gonna be because of
there it is.
Doing a fishing trip with my buddy Shrey. We just stumbled on that song randomly, and like that's what we listened to like half the weekend.
Dude. It sounds good from what I just heard from it.
Yeah, so that was just a random find when we were driving through Steamboat, and yeah, we just saved the song.
Dude, this band looks sweet. I'm looking at one of their album covers right now. One of the dudes looks like the lead singer of Flatland Cavalry, Cleto Cordero.
Nice.
But let's see. So that was
two more for
three,
you.
I believe.
Echo.
Okay.
Or yes, the song "Pickle Rick" by Echo. Just
okay.
It's
my dog.
And you spell Echo
Pickle
EKOH. Just when I was guiding, dude. Like everyone would call like little small fish pickle ricks. So.
Yep.
Yep.
Is this it right here? Oh, dude, it's got a little Creedence Clearwater Revival in there too. I'm liking that.
And then my last one, it's kind of more the reggae. "Love You More" by Giant Panda. Typically, when I start floating,
I've never
the reggae music comes on either
Panda.
on my Sirius radio or on my phone, and it doesn't come off.
Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad. Sweet. I'll put that on there, and then I pick 5 as well. I'll let you know what mine are.
Just to make your playlist get more ridiculous.
Dude, it is so crazy, this playlist. You'll see it, and you'll be like, oh my god. Like, dude, the music, like, the first week goes from, like, here to here to here. It is wild. Last week's I went on a wild tear and had Sabrina Carpenter on there. I have Sabrina Carpenter on a lot, actually. So mine were Jessica by the Allman Brothers. Night Moves, Bob Seger. I'm a huge Bob Seger guy. That's like that's my big nighttime mousing song. Like whenever I go up like the night before a trip and I like camp or something like that, Night Moves is always on, and I got a big mouse fly on my out there trying to catch a big brown. And then I just buy them at a fly shop. I'll just pick one up. I haven't gone.
The Mighty Bite's super easy. It's like you can be terrible at spinning deer hair and it just foam. I think it's like the Mighty Mite. I could be wrong. I'll have to look it up. I'll text you if it's not that one.
Okay, I'm about to.
But it's real simple. Like you put a tail on, you spin some deer hair, and you fold the foam on top, and then you trim it back, and it works well.
Heck yeah, I'm about to start looking that up because I do love mouse fishing. Then I got Amy by the Pure Prairie League. That's a banger. And then Drinking and Dreaming by Waylon Jennings, and then Fireline by Leftover Salmon. You ever listen to Leftover Salmon? I love Leftover Salmon. They're coming to Charlotte in I think in July, and I'm making my
She'll
girlfriend
enjoy it.
go with me. Yeah, that's what she's like. I'll put on like Billy Strings in the car, and she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is actually fantastic music. You got to listen to it a little more." And then I think I'm going to Billy Strings in April too. I'm seeing him
Awesome.
for the second time this year. But yeah, dude. But dude, I'm gonna listen to those bands that you listed off there. Cat Stevens, I've obviously listened
I
to,
figured that was going to be a pretty random one
but
for you.
I'm gonna listen to. I like that. I love obscure music, so that was an absolutely fantastic list right there. Yeah, listen to this list. Um, James Garrettson caught me off guard with his answers. That dude's a trip. He's so
Yeah.
funny. The one that yeah, dude, he's so funny. Um, it was like four. It was all rap music, and I was like, that caught me so off guard, dude. First Day Out by T Grizzly. I was like, I did not expect that coming from you, James. And then Colby A.
I have
Cuff.
not, no.
You ever listen to him? He was a guide at Coeur d'Alene River. Dying Breed. Check it out whenever we get off of here. Great song. I might actually be going to see him tonight because he is in Charlotte. Yeah, a lot of Charles Wesley Godwin, the Stanley Brothers, Luke Combs, Billy Strings, Soundgarden, John Denver. I will put this in the notes. Dude, you'll see how
I think I'm
insane
just going to
this
follow it.
playlist goes.
It's going to be kind of a fun thing to watch grow.
Dude, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Like this, so you're actually the last episode of season 1 for the podcast, but I'm keeping this Trout Tunes thing going because I started it like halfway through, and we're gonna try and grow it to be huge, and just see how many different
We'll probably get
genres of
them all.
music we
You're
get
going to
on
find
there.
someone
But
old, and they're going to be like, yeah, I listen to classical.
exactly, dude. Yeah, they're like Beethoven. But that's about all I got for this week. You have a birthday party you're attending.
My daughter turns
this evening,
5
correct?
on Monday, but her party is today because next week is spring break for the school. So,
you guys getting into anything fun for spring break?
Try to get a float trip in. It's finally warming up. I mean, the river's clear, but it's just been so cold.
That'll be fun. But dude, yeah, thank you again for coming on, dude. We'll have to run it back again too. Once I'm gonna think of some more topics to get onto, and then maybe we'll just have one. I'm actually on Instagram and maybe TikTok. I'm thinking about doing a fly tying happy hour on Fridays starting next week, where we just get a bunch of guys that tie in and just sit back, shoot the shit, and
awesome.
And tie flies for like an hour on Friday night. So I'll let you know when
awesome. Yeah, next week I'm gone, but probably
there.
most Fridays I am free.
Perfect, dude. I'll let you know when we start them up. I think next week I'm thinking about trying to start it up and posting something about it here soon. So we might end up having to do it on like Zoom or something like that. And because if there are a bunch of people who are interested, but if not, we'll just do it on like TikTok Live or Instagram Live or something like that. So. Dude, but thank you again for coming on, man.
Me. It's fun.
I'll shoot you a text. Dude, it's always fun, man. But keep me updated on how whenever you guys hear back from the waiting period thing.
Hopefully and I can always like if you need me to at some point, if there's a quick update, I can always record something for you to cut in or
perfect, dude.
To post if that's easier too.
Yeah, dude, that would be perfect. But, dude, yeah, once again, thank you tons, man. I'll have this up. I'll send you clips and stuff like that. And then I'll also post a bunch of clips on TikTok and Instagram
thank you.
and all that good jazz. No problem, man. Thank you. Let's see. Dude, all right, that was Ian McCreary talking about some awesome tips with indicator fishing. Here we have our second closing guest, as always, Mr. Maverick. How are you doing today, sir? Doing good. He's been sitting on the couch. We've had a little March Madness going on in the background. He's been living it up, watching that. You're going to make your grand exit, sir? Yep. He's been living it up, watching that. We just won the Baylor game. Just wanted to come on, close it out. Just thank everybody. This was actually, like I said to Ian earlier, he was the last episode of season 1. I want to thank everybody who has listened, who has commented, who has come on. First and foremost, always thank the guests. My headphones looked a little weird there, but always thank the guests. We've had some great ones on. David last week, Lewis, Jackson Bland, James. Everyone that has come on has been perfect. My guy, what you looking at there, guy? My guy Caleb York, another great episode this season. We've had a ton of good ones, to the point where it is hard to remember them all. But we got some great stuff coming down the pipeline for season 2. You want to go down, bub? We've got some awesome stuff coming down the pipeline for season 2. We got some companies coming to interview with us. We've got some videos that are going to be going up on the YouTube. Partnering with a company from here in Charlotte, a couple of dudes. We're going to make a little urban creek fishing video. Might have a little nice logo sticker coming down the line. Kind of for people in Charlotte, but also sports heads. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty sweet. Going to do some trips. We might have another big video coming in the summer. Not going to give out too much on that, but that's about it for today. Like everyone saw, we on Instagram we did a little bracket challenge. I am currently leading the bracket challenge for the Rys Flies portion. I cannot win the flies, obviously, because I am the one that is putting on the challenge. The bracket that I did not enter in, the Rys Flies bracket challenge, is currently at 98.8% correct. It was a perfect bracket until the Kansas game yesterday. Also, I lost Yale against Texas A&M. But I believe we just did pick up a point in the Baylor game. We also have Lipscomb, Iowa State on right now. But honestly, March Madness has been pretty dang good this year so far. Big W by the McNeese Bayou Bandits. Shout out to the boy Amir Ora Khan. Just an absolute unit of a human being. Bringing out the boombox, dude, that's just absolutely awesome. But, yep, one UCLA, one Tennessee, Purdue, Houston, Gonzaga over Georgia, McNeese over Clemson. But, yeah, currently I am actually, that bracket is 311,000th in the world. So, I can get down with that, but, I am in first place in the Rys Flies bracket by 10 points. My buddy Griff, he is sitting in second at 130 points. I'm at 140. So we'll see how the Rys Flies bracket challenge shakes out. But that's about it with season 1. We'll see what happens here in season 2, but we got a lot of stuff, good stuff planned. So we'll hit the ground running next Tuesday and Friday. Like I said, we're gonna start trying to do 2-episode weeks. So stay tuned. Shout out once again to everybody that has been on, everybody that has listened, everybody that has followed, all the guests, and shout out to Ian for coming on today. Until next time, until next Tuesday, go out and catch some dang trout this weekend. Go have a good time. Drink a few adult beverages out on the river. But peace out.